Shifting over, though, to what we're seeing play out in that key battleground state of Florida, some interesting efforts there being led by former Democratic presidential candidate here, and Mike Bloomberg, helping raise money to support a push to help former felons, vote in the state of Florida. A very interesting shift here that could bring a lot of people who had been previously disenfranchised to the ballot box. And here for more on that is Yahoo Finance's Kristin Myers. And Kristin, I mean, this is no small movement in terms of how many more people could be voting in this election.
Yeah, absolutely, Zach. So as Sargent was just mentioning, Florida is a key state to Donald Trump and also to Joe Biden, as that state is going to pave the way essentially to victory. So for his part, Mike Bloomberg has decided to spend $100 million in just Florida alone to help get Joe Biden elected. Now, as a part of that $100 million push, he is going to be spending $16 million to essentially help people that have felony convictions vote. Now, these are people that are registered to vote but are unable to vote, and they're barred from voting in Florida, not because of their felony conviction, but because they have these standing fees and fines, restitution costs. And because of that, they are unable to vote right now. I do want to point out that the average cost of those fees and those fines is roughly $1,000, but these are essentially people that are too poor to pay those debts. So as a part of that $16 million, that means 32,000 Black and Hispanic voters are now going to be able to vote inside of Florida. Now, as you had mentioned, this is a huge push, and I kind of want to put this in context for everyone. A University of Florida study found that nearly 775,000 former felons still owed money related to their convictions, and essentially were going to be barred from the voting booth by that law that essentially says that if you have these fees, if you have those fines, you are going to be ineligible to vote. And as I mentioned, a lot of those people are unable to pay those fines and those fees, and as a result, they're unable to vote. Now, what Bloomberg decided was that his money was better spent. And this is a little bit interesting because he blew essentially $1 billion on his own campaign, his failed campaign. So he decided, this $100 million, I'm going to try to spend it effectively. And instead of trying to persuade voters to vote for Joe Biden, who already can vote, I'm going to spend that money and give it as a donation, that $16 million. I'm going to use that as a donation instead to help people who have these barriers and these hurdles to voting. That, of course, being those 32,000 Black and Hispanic voters inside the state of Florida that are unable to vote because of those fines and those fees. Now, I do want to mention here that Black and Hispanic voters tend to swing Democrat. So this is obviously a part of a key effort here to get Joe Biden, the most votes for Joe Biden in, again, Florida, which is an incredibly key swing state. As Sargent was mentioning, this is perhaps part of the push to get Barbara Lagoa, a federal circuit court judge, inside that state to get perhaps Floridians to vote more for Donald Trump. Zach.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we know how close it's been in historical elections. You can think back to Bush v. Gore, less than 600 votes deciding that race. So you think about signing up more than 30,000 here to vote in this one. I mean, it would be pretty big in terms of how close that state's been. But Kristin Myers, appreciate you bringing us that.